I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. And hello at home. If you're joining, welcome to this very special Meet the Miniaturist. While we wait for folks to join, we'll wait a few minutes. Please do say hello in the chat box. I see some of you have joined already, and that is awesome. Please go ahead and tell me, number one, that you can hear me, but also where you're joining from. And I'm also going to go ahead and populate the comment section with some important links while we get started. What was that? Yeah, these are just important links that we're going to be covering in the next, while we're having a little special Meet the Miniaturist. So welcome. If you are just joining, please do say hello in the comments section and tell me where you're joining from. Hello, Ken. Good to see you. Good day from Australia. Let's see. It's 4 o'clock. 5 6, maybe it is in the middle of Monday, end of Monday. What time is it there for you, Ken? Hey, Sarah Beth. Good to see you. Yay. Oh, she's here for one of her favorite miniaturists. That's awesome. Hey, Eastchester, my backyard. Elizabeth, good to see you. I'm not seeing you. Yeah, I haven't put up the video yet. So we are starting. Where are you joining from, Benny, that you can't see? You should see some visual before I actually go ahead and start. Hey, Denver, good to see you. 6 a.m. Monday. Wow, you're bright and early there, Ken. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll wait another few seconds and then I'll go ahead and start. Let's see. Why don't we do this? I will first of all, I will say hello and welcome all of you to this very special Meet the Miniatures. Before I bring on my special guest, I just want to go through some of the things that are going on here with me before we bring on our guests. So as you know, right now we're getting ready to start our Meet the Miniaturist, but you can go ahead and check back on some of the most recent Meet the Miniaturists, which are on my YouTube channel. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm going to populate those links there for you if you want to go check those out. So one of the first ones recently was Judith Keeson from the Netherlands. She's got an amazing dollhouse, and I spoke with her about how she puts it all together. Then I had a great conversation with Jeff Swim from Doodler's Workshop. Hey, Quebec, good to see you. Awesome miniaturist, Gosia Sachadowska from Poland, from the south region of Poland. She's an awesome miniaturist making food and flowers. Mostly, she makes some other things. You have to check out that Meet the Miniaturist to learn more about her. And then finally, please go ahead and look at the preview in the links for my upcoming estate sale, which is starting early to mid-July. I don't have a start date because I'm putting that collection together right now. It is a collector from Japan, and she's got a really awesome collection of miniatures, which are going up for auction on my eBay site. So check that out. The preview is on my website, so you can look at some of the yummy miniatures that are available. And of course, if you are looking to downsize, please reach out. I'm happy to consult with you and talk about what your options are for finding happy homes for your adored miniature treasures. Hey, Southern Wisconsin, great to see you. Awesome. Let me see who else is joining. Quebec, Southern Wisconsin. Thank you all for joining. If you're on Facebook, we're live on Facebook as well. Do shout out and say hello in the comments section before we bring up our special guest. Let me tell you a little bit about him. It's Taylor Laufensweiler. I hope I got that right. From House of Viridian on Instagram. He's got a whole bunch of other social media channels, which I encourage you to check out, again, in the links that I sent in the comment section. I found him, obviously, as I do most of my favorite miniaturists, on Instagram. He's got an awesome channel where, he's a graphic designer by day, but I think what I was struck most by, and I can't wait to talk to him about this, is he knows his way around a wood strip cutter, and he knows how to work with wood to do some awesome work with historical architecture, and he knows his way around color too. He's really good with color. So with that, I would like to welcome Taylor. Hi, Taylor. Good to see you.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'm so excited and I can't wait to talk to you. Also, I also want to mention you have an awesome Instagram account where you're very generous with sharing your tips and tricks. And I hope we can talk a little bit about that. But before we begin,
Absolutely.
let's hear a little bit about how you got into this, what's your background, talk about the graphic design element and how that all plays into what you're doing right now. And we're also want to talk about that awesome studio you are joining us from in the background. But yeah, let's get to it. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I'm originally from Iowa and I moved to New York City about a decade ago to get my master's in painting. So, my background is heavily in painting and drawing. But my dad is also a woodworker. So, a lot of my childhood was spent helping him in his wood shop, which is kind of maybe where some of that influence comes in. Um, but yeah, I started building miniatures about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, and then I started sharing it online,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
So relatively new to the miniature sort of game, but
Uh,
interaction with wood and craft and um, wood. I mean, just that's really the tie-in right there. Is you really know your way around wood cutters and wood strips and moldings and windows, and we're gonna get to it. So, did you have a dollhouse growing up? Like, where did the miniature piece come in?
I did. I had like a couple of like more playline dollhouses as a really little kid. And I remember going to Hobby Lobby with my mom and kind of sneaking my way over to the dollhouse section and kind of getting peeks of it, but not being too obvious, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
So,
I do know what you mean. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna just go check out that aisle, mom.
yeah, exactly.
So did I mean on that note, how did you incorporate sort of miniatures and dollhouse? Because there's a lot of stuff attached to boys playing quote unquote with dolls and doll houses. How did you incorporate that? How did you get comfortable with that play, if you will, and having that interaction?
I mean, my family was super open and supportive, so it was never an issue there. So I just kind of kept it. I kept it in the home. But now that I'm, an adult, I'm not afraid to kind of share,
Yeah.
this part of myself.
Yeah. I mean, I could do a whole podcast just on, there's shame around, boys playing with dolls. I know I had a lot of shame growing up. We're not going to talk about that, but the point is what's good is you had support and encouragement as I did as well, which is why we're doing what we love to do today. I can only
Yes.
imagine, right? Is because you had that support. So, okay. So dad worked was he a carpenter, woodworker? What was he?
He was a UPS driver by day, and
Okay.
then his free time and on the weekends, he was a pretty serious craftsman.
Yeah.
He's built both of his houses kind of completely on his own,
Wow.
and has
Wow.
built a lot of furniture and things
Yeah.
on top of that. So that I kind of swore to myself as a kid that I would never do something like this because I can't stand measuring or exactness. But here we are.
Really? Well, I mean, I have a similar story. My dad was a cabinet maker, and I heard the saw go a lot, and I could smell wood a lot in the house, which was awesome. And then he ultimately had a shop of his own. But growing up around that, you never forget that.
Oh
That's
no,
part of who you
yeah,
are. Hearing the
absolutely.
sounds of the wood and the hammering and the working. Love all that stuff. Totally
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, yeah. All right, so life happened, right? And what ultimately you ended up in a creative role, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I work as a graphic designer now. And about 2 years ago, my husband got me the dollhouse kit, this Victorian one behind me,
Yep.
um, as a Christmas gift. And so it was something I had wanted to do for years, but just never really let myself get into it. It's kind of an expensive thing to jump
Yeah.
into.
Yep.
And so when money is no longer part of it to get started, you kind of have no choice but to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. In other words, having doing stuff yourself. Is that what you're saying? Like
right,
making stuff yourself. You were kind of forced
right.
into it.
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, is that a half scale house or is that full scale? Full
this
12
is full
scale?
scale.
That
Yep.
is because I guess it
Hmm.
looks smaller because it's far behind you.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. Well, I love that house, and we're gonna get into talking about the color because the color is awesome, and you just have a color sense, and that's not easy in real life, and it's even not easy in miniature because color plays differently when it gets down to scale. And maybe why don't we talk about that right now?
Yeah,
Talk about
absolutely.
color. Talk about color because I think that is definitely one of your strengths.
So, a color that I'm drawn to intensely is green, which is kind of where my name on Instagram comes from, House of Viridian. Viridian is my favorite oil paint color, and so that's kind of where that came from. But beyond that, typically tend to lend towards really moody and deep colors. I honestly don't really know much else. It's a very intuitive process for me.
Yeah.
Like trim work, that's also very intuitive for me. I think
Yeah.
it kind of comes from a lot of like the color theory and classes that I took, leading up to this point in
Yeah.
school.
So do those things come into play when you're choosing color? Do you actually is it somewhat strategic in that regard? Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, totally. I mean, when you're thinking about all of the different elements in a room, so like what kind of flooring, if there's going to be any kind of brickwork, it's thinking about the colors that are like bricks. I work with bricks a lot, so there's kind of like oranges and reds. So when I'm working with that, I'll usually play with like a cooler tone gray or black or get into some kind of green. So that way it kind of vibrates, but also complements it at the same time.
Uh, yeah, do you find sometimes you choose a color and then when you start to work in scale, it might not work? Like maybe it
All the
doesn't
time.
what does that mean? Because I don't know. I just know I don't like it. But what is happening? Do you have an idea of what's happening when it doesn't seem right?
I feel like it has to do with light and how light interacts with the scale of the project. Because I feel like if it's the wrong color, it just doesn't feel like it's in scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right because I think light bounces off a surface differently, and that's going to change the way the light reflects and looks. So,
Totally.
a dark color might actually work or it might not, depending on how big the surface is, how much light is bouncing off of it. But it goes back to what you're saying. It's intuitive in a lot of ways. It's
Yeah.
hard to teach color
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think we need to try because we need to try to teach as much as possible so that people can have success with their projects. No?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So life happened. You got this dollhouse. And is that finished behind you? Is it all done?
No, it's
Okay.
it's very much there's like an addition that's gonna go in this area. Right now I'm working on like a wraparound
Oh,
porch.
wow.
It's kind
Yeah.
of if you know the Owens house from Practical Magic, the
Ah,
witch house in Salem. I'm kind of like mashing all of those different inspirations into one.
okay.
It's been
Wow.
finished and then I completely start over. That's kind of the process for me.
Yeah. Well, one of the jokes I think on your Instagram is that you have so many projects started and you're
Yeah.
sort of never done. It
Yeah,
sounds
if you can see, the projects kind of built up behind me. Yeah.
yeah. So what are some of the things you're working on? You have the house behind you, which and does everything start with a kit or do you scratch build anything from square one?
So most of the stuff I'm currently working on has started as a kit, although this room right
Yep.
here was from scratch. I'm kind of seeing
Ah,
myself get more into like starting from scratch,
okay. All right.
just because I really want to customize the space and the layout even
Right.
more than I
Right.
can in a kit.
Right. So you have the house. You have a I see a two-story. Is that the Brooklyn Brownstone?
No, this is the antique shop, which
Antique shop.
was finished, but now I'm redoing it. And then I have the
You have one
what?
comment from Tony saying, "I think Taylor's house is always in process."
Yeah, this is the brownstone.
Oh,
It's just
wow.
one floor right now. It's got the
Wow.
pocket doors in there. Yeah, it's
Wait, you go slow. Go slow. Take us through, please, and then talk about the pocket doors. Go slow.
sure. So I can't remember the name of this kit. I think it's like York. something kit. I got it from miniaturist.com. This is just one floor. And I changed the layout already because I wanted a bigger kitchen, which you can see more in here. And those wood doors you see are pocket doors. And then I did like a herringbone brick pattern above the stove and built-ins over here.
And guys, you have to go check out Taylor's Instagram, because he's got all of the in-process video, so you could see a lot more up close, like especially those pocket doors. Those pocket doors blew me away. They just blow me away. All right, so I think it's interesting how you said you started out with a kit and you just kit bashed it so much that it's not recognizable. So that exactly what you're saying. I'm starting to scratch build myself because there's probably more time taken.
Yeah, it's more time and also cheaper. Yeah, I feel like it's cheaper. I also have, let me move this. This is a bookstore that I'm working on, which also started as a kit.
Oh, I love the built-ins. They're crazy.
This started as a kit. I have some really nice windows that have some like etching that I'm putting in, but yeah, it's kind of not really recognizable anymore as what it was.
So talk a little bit about your process. Now, when you're working, do you sketch things out? Are you just free? I mean, how do you work? How do you gather your thoughts and keep them going?
I'll start with like an idea. So like the bookstore, for example, I'll have kind of a visual of a bookstore. I'll go to Pinterest and look at a bunch of different images of things that might inspire me, but also living in New York City, I feel like you're constantly kind of navigating so many different types of architecture and different types of shops that just kind of, I feel like whether you realize it or not, you're kind of absorbing all of that information. And then I feel like when it comes to creating, it just kind of like subconsciously comes out of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, New York is just flooded with inspiration. So just, walking to the corner to get coffee, you don't realize you're checking out the molding on a storefront and that's coming in. And then when you go to design, you're like, boom, there it is. That's what I want. Yeah. I mean, I'm in New York City. I'm outside of New York City, but I understand exactly what you're saying. The inspiration is everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about sort of like the technique piece. Where did that learning come from? And like, was there a lot of trial and error? You talked about measuring, the importance of measuring. Talk a little bit about that.
I'm still, honestly, I don't know if I really understand how to read a measuring tape. If you look at my like Google tabs right now, it's like, what's the second line behind the half mark? And like, what does that mean? So I'm constantly kind of going between the two, kind of refusing to still learn it, but having to do it. But I don't measure a lot. I kind of like, my process, I don't plan any of it in advance. So I'm like taking the material, holding it in the space, marking how big I want it to be, then going and cutting it. And it's kind of just like that process repeatedly, but that's what really works for me.
Wow. Just that's, and do you feel like you're doing more of that as you do more or less of it? Where are you getting more intuitive or are you getting more strict? Like,
I think I'm getting more strict because I'm starting to implement different tools into my process, like 3D printing. And so that, in order to get it right, you need to have the exact measurement in order to like design it and print it. And so that's kind of where I see myself learning to read a measuring tape now, because I'm starting to implement that. But still, like a lot of the trim work is still very intuitive for me, and it's very layered, and I think that's kind of where my painting and drawing background comes in, because it's like line and shape and depth and all of these different things.
Yeah. I want to share just some of your in progress work, which like I said, folks are encouraged to go and check out Taylor's Instagram because there's so much rich information. And then of course the miniature, the miniature bug is satisfied by just seeing all of the work come together. So, but you are very generous with how, describing what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I think that's great, and that's so great for the community. It's what we need. So talk a little bit about. I mean, you are very generous with what you show. Does that take you away from what you're trying to do, or talk a little bit about like how does
I
that?
think
Yeah,
it only helps. I think when I started building miniatures, I really had no like idea what I was doing. I had no clue about like what type of wood I should be using, and I found those obstacles to be so frustrating. And like in a lot of ways, it's hard to find that information online. Maybe not so much now, but when I started, it was. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
I feel like if I can share the knowledge that I have, like why not? You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I bet the communication comes two ways. I mean, you hear from what do you hear from the people who are following you, and how does that help you, if any? If
People are always very curious about the tools that I use. There's like, especially miter shears, which I think if there's one tool that you need to have in your toolbox,
Yep.
that is the one because you can do literally everything with it.
So that's the wood strip cutter, right? That I was mentioning. Is
Yep,
that do you
yep,
have the one that has
yeah,
the orange base? I agree. That is one thing that
yeah.
everyone needs, but I think some people might be a little afraid to use it. So if you had to just give some advice for someone who has never picked up a woodcutter,
Yeah.
what would you tell them to say? Hey, it's okay. You could do this.
I mean, it's so simple. You can do any angle cut on this. It's perfect for like framing, for trim work, for building literally anything. And they're marked with the angles on here. And you can even do straight cuts. So you
Uh,
just like literally put it in there and then you cut it and you can do
yeah,
angles, and you can just kind of, it's
yeah.
such an easy tool. And like, I don't love using power tools, so I'll do anything to not
Yeah.
use a power tool.
Well, you make it look very easy, and it's not. It is a learning process that goes with it. But I agree that is the one tool that is probably everyone should get if you want to make it your own, which is what you've done out of necessity, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go. I mean, most of us can't go out and buy everything we want,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but how much fun have you been having doing it? I mean,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
I'm obsessed with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. Talk a little bit about the kinds of wood. Where do you get them? Do you get them all at hobby shops, or where do you go?
Yeah, so I typically use just basswood because it's really structural. I used to work with balsa wood a lot, but that can be really soft and flimsy and not really hold up over time. It can take on damage. Whereas basswood, you can find it in so many different varieties. So I have like an Amazon storefront where that's where I get a lot of my materials. So I have a bunch of different basswood sizes listed on there. But you can also go to like wholesale sites if you're working on like a really big project and need to get like a good deal on a lot of, a big quantity of it.
Yeah,
But basswood, I think that's also what most dollhouse trim is made out of is basswood, I think.
and even
Um,
your millwork around the all of that is all basswood,
it's all
or
basswood, yeah. That's all I use.
so you don't buy any coved. I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Dental molding, like you don't.
Oh, I mean, I do. I definitely do. I buy.
Okay,
There's a seller, Miniature Crush, on Etsy. I think she also has a website. I think she
okay.
also is taking over miniatures.com now,
Oh,
but
okay.
she
Yes.
has an amazing selection for a really good price.
Okay.
So if you're looking for pre-made trim work,
Yeah.
decorative trim work, she's got it.
So, I mean, I could totally see you doing your own millwork at someday.
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
because you
yeah,
have the eye for all the trim, and that is the basis. And I could totally see you just milling your own.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the wheels are turning.
I
Yeah.
bet. I bet. You talked also about 3D and other techniques. Talk a little bit about what are you making in 3D and how are you adding that into your
Yes.
builds?
So this is exciting. So last week I launched my online shop, and what I'm doing with this, something I've had a hard time finding myself are details, like architectural details, like corbels and plinths and brackets. There are some out there, but there's not a huge selection. And so I wanted to start kind of making my own and then selling them online so other people can also get these details that really add a lot to your projects. They're really small things, but they take it to the next level. So 3D printing right now is all about kind of creating those details for my projects. I'm starting to get into a little bit more like doors and maybe even furniture. But I'm not sure if you'll kind of lose the quality of things when you
Right.
start 3D printing at larger scales. But
Right.
it's a really good tool,
Yeah.
especially if you're like an intuitive worker, because I can be like working on something, have an
Yeah.
idea for a corbel, go design it,
Yeah.
incorporate it into my project.
Wow. Okay. So this is now live. People can go find.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, and awesome. That is, I
yeah,
think it's definitely a need in the miniatures world for sure. Those architectural accents that are
yeah,
somewhat affordable and it's not all handcrafted by, so
exactly.
absolutely need for it, full stop. And variety, I think, is also what's missing.
Yeah, yeah,
So, okay. So again, I'm going to plop, um, all of the links in the comment section for folks to go at least go onto your Instagram account because that's where they'll find the link to your selling site,
yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, awesome. So you have all these projects going on right now as we speak. Is there anything and you've got so much going on with your launch of your store. What else you have, like what can we expect moving forward? Like are you have bucket list projects or where are you
I
at on that?
mean, so the whole idea, the reason I have so many different things going on at once is because I'm building like a town in my head. And so the ultimate dream of what all of this is leading to is some like larger kind of, I mean, it would probably take up a literal room, but to create like a landscape space that these structures can then live in and kind of create this whole kind of like town experience. It'll probably take my whole life to do that, but that's
Wow.
the goal, you know?
In 12 scale, are we talking about incorporating
Yeah,
some of the things that you're doing now? The antique
yeah,
shop? Wow.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I would go to see
yeah,
that the
yeah.
second.
In like another 30 years, yeah.
I mean, I think it's also it helps in sort of visually in your own head, just helping you prioritize what you want to do next. I think it's a lot of miniaturists find it hard to like just I know I do like what do I want to do? There's so much, and for me, I can't put a stake in it. But to have sort of a project approach, even long
Yeah.
term, it helps.
Oh
And
yeah, totally.
yeah, yeah. So why don't let's see if there are any questions. From New Zealand. Good to see you, Sandra. Please consider selling Newell posts. I don't know what Newell posts are. There
Oh,
are really.
absolutely.
Oh.
Those are like those kind of like statement posts at the bottom of a staircase. You know, those
Oh.
really ornate, gorgeous,
Oh. Like the
you know.
Titanic in the
It's
Titanic staircase
kind of
going
like
up.
here. Yeah, I got one here.
Oh, let's see. Good
Sorry, I'm kind
question,
of coming out of
Christy.
it, but
Oh
I,
God, you need to go slow on that too.
this right here, this neural post I made, and then this is something that's available in my shop.
Do those windows work? You're gonna kill
They
me.
do. They
Stop
do.
it. Can you?
They do. Although I painted them shut, so they might not. But
Oh
they
my
do.
God.
If you can see the subtle,
And you
the
make
subtle.
those doors, you make those windows from scratch?
Yeah. So this was like a combination. What I like to do is to create the base of it as a 3D print, and then go in
Oh,
with really fine wood details to kind of
oh,
bring more of that depth into it.
wow. Because that gives you the sizing and the strength.
Exactly.
But then you have the really detailed window. What do you call them?
Oh, the corbels.
The
Yeah.
corbels. That's real.
These
No,
right
no, no.
there.
You said that the window itself, the outer frame is 3D printed.
Yeah, so this whole pane here is 3D printed, and I don't think you can really see, but there's really fine lines in there. That's
It,
wood.
it's hard to get that level of daintiness of those window. I don't know what you call them, the panes.
Yeah,
And everything else does not look right to scale. The
yeah,
store-bought ones, they just don't.
yeah,
Wow, awesome.
totally.
Those
Yeah.
are so nice. I could just look at those sliding doors all day long. Let's see if there are any other questions. Hey Tony, good to see you. They're joining from China. Hey Tony, great to see you. Maryland's on. Let's see if there are any other questions as we begin to wrap up, which I could talk to you, Taylor, all day long. Understand the measuring problem. Carpenter grandfather said no matter how many times she cuts, it's still too short. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. Munions, muntins, Donna says.
Wait, what
Mullions.
is that?
I think those are the little woodwork things. Muntins or mullions. I'm seeing both.
Sounds familiar. That word
Yeah.
does sound very familiar.
And Sarah loves the lifelong project that
Thank you.
you mentioned. All right. Any other questions before we let Taylor go? This has been incredible. I can't wait to go back and watch this again. Do you mean millions? Yeah, we mean millions. Thank you, Taylor. All right. So, like I said, folks, you can go and follow Taylor. He's got an awesome Instagram account. Very, very inclusive. Very lots of learning. Very lots of like eye candy just to. Yeah. So thank you at home for joining. Please do check out my estate sale that's coming up. Thank you, Taylor. And thank you, everybody at home. Really, really appreciate you guys joining on your Sunday. Have a great rest of your day and have a great week. Thank you. Thanks, Taylor. All right. Bye.